He is the only man to have defeated Gene Tunney. He is said to have had a street fight with Mickey Walker after defeating him earlier that evening. He recklessly ping-ponged between middleweight, which was more his natural weight, and heavyweight over 300 plus fights. This man was the definition of a phenomenon. He brought speed, volume, awkwardness, dirty tactics. He would flaunt them in your face, and you would not be able to do anything about it. And yet, absolutely no fight footage survives of Harry Greb. It makes it so very difficult for those who approach his legend to remove that fantastical element. But it is certainly not impossible. Do we have footage of the men Greb defeated? Yes, we do. Do we have newspaper reports, accounts by fellow fighters to get an idea of how good these guys were? Of how stiff Greb's competition was? Yes, we do. And so, while all we are left with is this kind of awkward training footage from around 1925, when Greb wasn't the same fighter, when the Pittsburgh Windmill was winding down, we do have it in the record books that he did some incredible things. And of all the many incredible things Greb did in the ring, one of them that many people know is going undefeated in 1919 in a year in which he fought 45 times. A modern career done in 12 months. It's insane. It happened. Now, the likes of fellow godlike greats like Ray Robinson and Henry Armstrong had some incredible years where they went undefeated. You've got high numbers, you've got top competition. But I think just to have fought 45 times, it just captures the imagination. Now, the real misconception of fighting 45 times in one year is that the competition would have been very low. You're just going to be beating up journeymen, right? No, that was not the case. That's why I've thrown up this little list here, to try and separate the wheat from the chaff, to show the real substance there in that year. Yes, Greb beat Hall of Famers. He beat guys who would go on to become champion. He beat guys, as I said, from middleweight up to heavyweight. And so at the top of the heap there, you can see we have got Mike Gibbons and Jeff Smith. Both guys who never officially won a world title, but shades of Sam Langford, these guys were incredible. Gibbons, maybe a little bit past his best here, but certainly still useful. Not the kind of guy you'd want thrown into a 45 fight schedule in 12 months. And Greb gets the better of these guys. Both incredibly experienced, know all the tricks in the book. Definitely top wins. Billy Misk, who of course was a heavyweight, who Jack Dempsey was very complimentary towards. Only knocked out once by the Mauler when he was apparently not so well. Great infighter, real good heavyweight. Not at the top tier. Tommy Gibbons, brother of Mike, seemed to have his number, but this wasn't, again, a guy to trifle with. You throw him into a hectic schedule, can easily end up beating you. And he was just another person to get in Greb's way. And at the bottom of this list, what I've dubbed decent and veterans, you can see Greb fought a couple of people 4 times. This gives you an idea of his activity. The way he was bouncing about states and different towns, taking trains, probably hopping in those rickety cars. He is all over the place. The likes of Bill Brennan, who was a more basic heavyweight, can't do anything with him. And the aging, slowing, very good light heavyweight battling Levinsky, it's the same story. I've thrown in Willie Mahen there because the rotund spoiler gave the Manasseh Mauler some trouble. And Mike Mateague would go on to become light heavyweight champion. So yeah, look at that. And of course, they're the highlights. When you're fighting so often and you're still fighting quality, you get an idea of what Greb accomplished. Now, one of the things you may have noticed in this record, you could say the thing that stands out second most after 45-0, is the fact there's only 5 knockouts. Greb wasn't a big puncher. Now, of course, we have to factor in many of the guys he's fighting are much bigger than him, so that would have taken its toll on his KO percentage. But this isn't a guy who really set his feet. He was constant motion. I think I remember reading the likes of Jack Johnson, former heavyweight champ, had a little spar with Greb and was absolutely blown over by the Pittsburgh man's speed. He was a blur. Words you will often read when you look at his fight reports are the likes of bouncing and slashing. It's hard to make sense of his style when you just read the reports. Some theorize that his style may have been kind of similar to Joe Calzaghe. Lots of volume, light on his feet, an ability to adapt to whatever's going on, but probably a little bit rougher, probably a little bit quicker. Just this ability to overwhelm, to resist, and to conquer. Now, I should leave the footnote here that because a lot of these fights were under the no contest ruling, whereby unless there was a knockout, there would not be an official result given, not exactly everybody agreed with the newspaper decisions. But generally, the most that agreed on one decision would become, you could say, semi-official. And most believe that Greb is undefeated. His last fight in this very special year fell on December 22nd, just leaving himself 3 little days there to rest up and enjoy Christmas. To cool his jets, as writer Springs Toledo put it, fighting a more modest 25 times in 1920.